What is it? A few weeks. What is it we just got to do every day? Thank you. We got to renew our mind. That message has not stopped. Okay? I can't help but talk about it because it's something that's so important. So just because that ain't the title of our message don't mean that we don't do that anymore. I'm glad I ain't got to renew my mind anymore. Oh no, it's constant. And what must we be with the things of God? Faithful. Y'all are. Let's go to Dairy Queen. Y'all want to go to Dairy Queen? Y'all are awesome. Where'd everybody go? Oh, I didn't know you really wanted me to be faithful. So tonight I'm going to talk about, so often people hear messages that talks about things, what you got to be faithful, you got to renew your mind. We talked about a ways back about how to renew your mind, but tonight we're going to talk about what is a true faithful believer? What is a faithful believer? We can talk about it. I'm going to be faithful. Okay. Well, what is a true faithful believer? And I almost hated to use the word believer because people think just because they think they believe in something, then everything else comes along with it. That ain't true. The word believe means to rely upon, to adhere to trust in. I believe in, can't even say Yeshua because most people don't even know. Oh, I believe in Yeshua. Okay, I know you know about him. I'm not talking just to, I'm talking to everybody. I know you know about him, you know some scriptures, but do we trust in? Do we rely upon? Do we adhere to? Do we do everything that he wants us to do? Is it all about him? Do I trust him with my immortality? Do I trust him with my result? Or am I going to try to run and get my result by my own self and do it by the flesh instead of just walking in obedience? All right? All right, so here we go. Faithful. We talk about it. This is what that word actually means. It means trustworthy. So let's check ourselves. Are we trustworthy? Is the person sitting next to you trustworthy? Would you give that person next to you the keys to your house? Who said yes? Kim? Hand them over. I may want to go swimming. a little bit. Hey, that's trustworthy. And that's what God has called us to be faithful, to be trustworthy. Because if we're not faithful in the things that he has given us, he will never reward us for the things that are the true riches. Never. It means trustworthy. It means a believer. Here's your one. Sure. I'm sure. I don't doubt. Raise your hand if you're sure. True. He's trustworthy because he's true. I can trust him because he ain't going to lie to me. You ever had somebody just look at you right in the face and just flat out lie to you? Some of them are so good they can do it so much they believe it their own self. Some people out there kind of like look away. Oh yeah, I knew all about that. But some people don't lie so much it's no different to them. That's not faithful. To agree, to assure, to have confidence. Ecclesia, we should have confidence about one another. We should be able to call on one another and say, okay, I'm not very good at it, but I'll help you do whatever you need to do. Or, I'm the best at it. Just move out of the way and let me do it. Those are the ones you want to call, isn't it? All right? Here you go. Make a friend. I mean a real friend. A real friend is someone who has a friendship relation with you, even if it costs them something and they get nothing out of it. That's a true friend. That's why in house number 1, house number 2, and house number 3, we've got to come to a place to where there's friends. Servant, son, friend. Servant, son, friend. But the thing is, we all want to jump to friend without being a servant and a son. It's like house number 2 in marriage. Really, the bottom line is your spouse should be your best friend. Oh boy, I'm in trouble now, whatever. They really should be. And a lot of times, just because you're friends does not mean that you never disagree. Well, I thought you was my friend. Well, I am. I'm being a friend enough to tell you, don't go that way. Well, I don't want to, see, that's what's going on in the world today. If anyone disagrees with them, they're wrong. They want to demolish everything. They can't have nothing. I'm telling you, it's no different with the American church. Everybody's in it for themselves. And you say one cross word to me and relationship's over. I'm done. You ever heard that? You ever said that? Not in this house. You ever saw it on TV? I'm done. And off they go. Right, ladies? That's just how those guys do it. I'm done. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Bunch of sissies. I'm done. But a real friend's going to tell you the truth. Someone please tell me that there's a great white off the side of the boat before I jump in scalloping with Todd. Right, Todd? Me and Todd was out in the Gulf one time fishing. There was two sharks. I don't know how big they were. They were good size. They were bigger than that, so I didn't want no part of them. They swam under the boat, and Todd said, "That right there. That right there." I said, "What are you doing?" "That's the exact reason I'm out here scalloping, tell you that right now. That right there." And I was like, "I agree with you, friend." And if for some reason we were, out of our mind, was going to go scalloping, and I saw that there was two sharks jumping right where Todd was going to jump, I'd just push him. I like his boat. I'd just take his boat. I'd say, hey, don't you tell me, don't. I love you enough. I'm a friend to you. I'm faithful to you. I'm going to tell you what I see and what I believe is the truth, whether you agree or not. I'm going to love you enough and be faithful to you and be a true friend to tell you the truth. And guess what? I may be wrong, but at least I'm giving you a second opinion here that at least you can stop and say, well, let me look. You know what I'm saying? That's part of being faithful. I'm giving us some real down-to-earth ways of being faithful. What does faithful really mean? Because we can talk about it. I can get up here and preach it to you. It can be great. It can be wonderful. But if we really don't understand how to apply it, it becomes just knowledge to us. And we got to have knowledge. That's why I was glad you knew, renew your mind, and I'm glad you knew being faithful. Y'all are faithful to that. And let me tell you another. Y'all are faithful here on Sundays, and you're faithful here on Wednesday nights. And I appreciate it. Apostle Johnny appreciates it. And guess what? Yahweh appreciates it. Because you're faithful to things about Him. All right? A friend. Here's one, to obey. Here's another for faithful, to persuade. Oh man, don't do that. Not for a selfish reason. You know, don't get rid of that Corvette. Don't get rid of it. Not that I want him to keep it. You're saying yes? I'll talk to you, Gloria. I got a $100 bill in my pocket right now. I'll make a deal with you. But my motive can't be that I want him to keep it. My motive is get rid of it. Exactly. I like it. So that ain't what a real friend is. A real friend is even if it costs them. A real friend is saying, hey man, I've had people come to me before and say, Pastor Joel, I really feel like the Lord is telling me to give somebody something. And guess what? It could have been something I liked. Well, the Lord told me. Icky, Mickey, Mouse. The Lord told me that you should give it away. But there's a specific person. And that specific person may bring the word of the Lord to you. That ain't what it's about. It's to say, man, is you crazy? Or, hey man, I think you're right. And this happened. I said, I think you're right. If it's in your heart, to bless someone, bless them. My goodness. Now, I understand that we need to be a good steward and not just throw things away. But the Lord's putting something on your heart, Dick, to give somebody a Corvette. Wait a minute, the Lord's speaking to me again. He's been speaking to me.
He's hard of hearing.
You're telling me why he don't have ears to hear then, right? I'll just tell you what the Lord said then. You know how you do something and people try to hint to you like something? It's like you got something they like. Man, I've always liked one of those. That was one of my dream cars, Dick. I've wanted those my whole life. Matter of fact, that was my favorite Hot Wheel and Matchbox car. Was that Corvette with that split back window. Do you have one like that? Did you get rid of it?
Never had one.
You never had one that split window?
No, it was the same year, but it wasn't split.
It wasn't split window? Yeah, but I had another one that had the whole window in it. The one with the split window was red. The one that with the solid window that I really liked was yellow. Does that mean anything to you, brother? Did you feel the quickening of the Spirit on that one?
I had to call Richard. I don't have it.
See, the Lord told you to give it away, but there again, you got to watch who you're giving it to. You can hear the Lord, but you can miss Him at the same time. All right? That ain't a friend, guys, okay? That's a taker, not a giver. Of course, I don't want to steal your... Here's a good one. I don't want to steal your blessing. I can't take that. Okay, well, I don't want to steal your blessing, though. Y'all know what I'm saying. Persuade, to trust, to yield. I'll yield. You know what a faithful person will do? They'll yield to their desires for what the truth is. That's what a faithful person will do. A faithful person doesn't have to have everything their way right away. With God, He's not Burger King. House number 2 is not Burger King. And Ecclesia is not Burger King. If everything ain't just the way we like it, then we're not faithful, because that proves that we're not faithful. Because I'm willing to yield. Listen to this. Constant in performing duties and services. I guarantee there's people around here that if they see something on the floor, they'll just go pick it up. It's so funny to me. If I charged everyone $10 every time somebody would come in here and try to straighten these chairs, I'd be a millionaire. Everybody just come in, OCD or whatever, just kind of like, move that, get that over this way, move that. It's funny, I had there's a eagle, whatever you want to call it, a throw that the secretaries years ago bought me for my birthday, Miss Sandy and whoever else it was that gave into it. And I had it on the back of my couch. Every person that came into my office, they could be coming there bawling and crying. Oh my gosh, oh, Pastor Joel. They will straighten that thing out. I promise you. So I just took it out and put it over here. So actually it's taken out because people are getting cold. So if sometimes my daughter-in-law has that, when she has on, go over and just straighten it out on her. You got to have that eagle just right on there. All right? There's benefits of being faithful. But you know what the greatest benefit of being faithful is? Being able to be faithful to the things of God. That's the greatest. That's the greatest. There are always rewards to being faithful. And watch this. We are to be faithful whether anybody else is or not. Why do you think I'm going to do what? Be faithful. Be faithful. Don't be weary in well-doing, because in due season, if you faint not, you're going to reap faithfulness. God's faithful. Listen to this. We talked about the other day. God is faithful when people are not. Now watch this. He's faithful. God is good to them, but watch this. God is also faithful to what His Word. He says, if you do this, this is going to happen. If you do this, this is going to happen. He is faithful to the truth. When we read faithfulness is true, it's true. He is true, Miss Sandy. It's true. He's faithful even when we're on the wrong side of the stick, as we learned from Apostle Johnny. He's faithful to that. You hear me? So He's faithful. All right? We got to be... to be a good steward of the mysteries of God. This is 1 Corinthians 4 when it says, let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ and stewards, which is an overseer, governor, or a preacher of the mysteries, which is the secrets of God. Verse 2 says, moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. This is so big. Last week we talked about faithfulness, and today we're talking about how we gave illustration on some of the ways that we can walk in this. What the word has to become flesh and dwell among us. We have to walk this. This has to be part of our life. This has to be our walk. And we got to be found faithful. One of the most powerful verses I read that ain't the only power, but one of the ones that stood out to me was when he says, well done, thy good and faithful servant, for you have been faithful in the small things. See how big that is? But it ain't just, well, this is what I think faithfulness. All these words here, faithfulness, all these words here, trustworthy, believer, sure, true, agree, assure, I have confidence, I make friend, I obey, I persuade, I trust, I yield, and I'm constantly performing duties and services. I'm constantly obeying God. One of the things that the Lord was speaking to me on the way here, it almost got me on something else, but I don't believe that I'm supposed to preach that yet. But he spoke to me this. What did the Lord say to us today? What did he say to us? Let's pretend like we got a piece of paper of what the Lord said. And let's take a piece of paper on what everything else we heard. That's a scroll. You didn't know that. Oh, over here, I'm saying, I know he had to say something. Don't beat up the guy that pulled out in front of me today. That's what the Lord said to me. I said that for a reason. I believe the Lord dropped that in my heart. Are we being faithful to this even? What's the Lord saying to us? Because I promise you, he's talking. Let me tell you how he's talking. I had someone call me today. Said, Pastor Joel, this is someone that they're trying to reach out to, and I'm kind of trying to reach out to also. And it was a friend of theirs, and we had them to our house, and she came and had lunch with us and tried to make her feel welcome, and just trying to minister to her and get her an entrance into her life so we can teach the truth to her. I'm not ramming it down the throat. But there's back doors to things that we've taught, a way of doing that. But this person called me and said, Pastor Joel, can you call my friend? She is struggling right now. Some things that went on in her life in the previous past, and she's really feeling alone. No, I ain't got time for that. I got other things I need to do. Let me tell you something. That was God speaking to me. He didn't open up the heavens and say, Joel. Because I'd say, Jesus, is that you? And he wouldn't answer me because he knew I wasn't talking about him. But that's one of the ways that God will speak to us. It can be as simple as a phone call from somebody else and say, hey, can you call this person? Well, let me see if I can find a phone booth somewhere. Well, I ain't got a dime. I'm going way back, ain't I? I ain't got a dime. I would call him, but we got no excuse now. There it is. I said, text me your number. So she texted me the number. And as I was dialing and going down the road, and the cop looked at me and I said, I'm doing the work of the Lord. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Can't do that. Get in trouble. But that was the Lord speaking to us, speaking to me. It don't have to be some great big voice as mighty rushing waters to speak to us. Here's us one. When we renewed our mind and we've cleared our mind of all the junk in our mind or on the things of God, he'll drop somebody's name into your heart. Just like that person says, Pastor Joel, I really feel like the Lord's telling me to give this person that. Probably wasn't the devil. It sure wasn't this devil. Because that was something that, hey, they liked. But they obeyed God. They heard it. They said, hey, I'm just going to, pass this by you. What do you think? And sometimes I can just look at them. They'll say, okay. They really know it, but they're just trying to can you talk me out of it sometimes? Hey, it's just real. The Lord wants to speak to us, and He's going to speak to those who have ears to hear. Dick Brinkley, ears to hear and can understand it and be faithful to do it. So all the things that we have learned in all these years here, and the words of life that I call it, because that's what the Bible calls it, it's the words of life. We cannot just think about it and have knowledge. It's got to, they call them, it's got to grow legs. We got to put boots on the ground. It's got to become part of it. It's got to become flesh. We got to walk this out. So think about it. What did God say? I'll make it easier. What did God say to us from Monday till today? Think of it. What did He say to us? We got to be faithful with our time, faithful for what we see, faithful to what we hear. The old saying, it's so scriptural. It's not even in the Bible. Junk in, junk out. It is, but not in those words. Junk in. So what is it that we are being faithful to? A steward. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. He can't just say, hey, I'm faithful. What's your name? Faithful? No, it's something that we have done. All right? To put into the ministry, entrusted with the glorious gospel of the kingdom, we're put into the ministry whether you're up here or not. We all have been called, the Bible says, to be ministers of reconciliation. We're reconciled man to God and God to man. Hey. And what's going to prove that is when someone sees that you are faithful, then it's going to prick their heart. And I promise you, when the rubber hits the road, they'll come to you and say, hey, I'm struggling here. How can you have peace in all this? All right? Be faithful to it. Listen to this. Proverbs 28:20 says, a faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. We went over that a little bit the other day. Let's go down to 4 different characteristics of faithful men. We can talk about being faithful all we want, but if we ain't got godly character, and a lot of that comes with time. We've talked about you got to go through tryouts. There's got to be character. You don't not just make the team because you wanted to be. Why do you think the Navy SEALs? How many of you ever seen the routines of the Navy SEALs and their training thing? I about have a heart attack watching them. I told Crystal, can you please come give me mouth to mouth or something because I can't hardly breathe. She didn't buy it. Hey, they do that. You may tell you why? They eliminate. You hear me? Does God want everybody? Yes. But He says, look, in order to be my disciple, you've got to hate everything. You can't just love everything and just come on. We're not so special to God. I told you this before. A guy came to me one time, and he was leaving or had left the church, whatever. And he said, I think you and your brother are sitting around thinking about ways to make me leave or get us to make more money. And I told him this. I said, man, I don't know where you're coming from, but you are not that important. And not that we didn't love him, but we didn't stop everything we're doing and say, oh my gosh, come on. God's interested in those that are willing to pay the price. And not those that just mediocre and just walk around and just expect to be given everything, which is running rampant. You got churches that are having 4 and 5 services a day. And I'm not talking about a little church. I'm talking big church. I'm like, how? I don't get it. When I get up here, I pour my heart out. Apostle Johnny pours his heart out. We're exhausted at the end. And I'm in tip-top physical condition. So you know I'm giving it all. I'm pouring my heart out. How do you do that and then turn around and go do the same thing again and do the same thing again and do the same thing again all in one day? I'm ready to go get my belly full and take a nap on Sunday. There's something about Sunday that just draws the NAP right out of you. That's saying it's a nap. That's a nap for some of y'all. NAP. All right, let's go to some characteristics of faithful men. Number 1 is they suffer hardship. I thought everything was going to be easy. When me and my wife got married, she went to get a GED. I went ahead and married her young that where I could train her in the ways of Joel, so when she's old, she won't depart from it. And it's worked so far. She was 12, and I was 21. I'm kidding. Those of you in Russia and everywhere in Japan watching me. So they said, well, you can only do this with us if there's a hardship. She said, well, I got married. That's a hardship. She passed that one right up. So we got to endure some hardship. Not everything's going to be laid down and we'll just float around, because that builds absolutely no character. And turn your news on for 5 minutes and you'll see a world of people with absolutely zero character, to where a man named Robert Lee cannot even be a commentator on a football game. Jeez. I said that in the office. I said, Roger was talking. I said, geez. He said, it ain't Jesus. I said, Roger, I said, geez. I didn't say Jesus, us. He caught me. Hey, you guys, what? Good for you, Roger. Listen to this. Not only suffer hardship, well, here we go, men of God, women of God, with no complaining about it. Here's living for God stuff. Let me tell you, this is a bunch of bull. I was better off when I was in the world sinning. Oh, okay. Go right back to your vomit. That was really good. Second time around. Listen to this. Suffers hardship, doesn't complain about it, and considers it an honor. What? Tell you something. That's a man of God, and that's a woman of God. Look at Peter. Oh, let me tell you what Peter did. Peter denied him. And denied him. I'm saying cursed. In front of an old woman. Back then, women ain't the way they are now. They walk way back there. He denied him. But let me tell you something. When the power of the Spirit and the Ruach came upon him, it changed his life. And he wasn't just faithful to his master, Yeshua, at times that it was beneficial. Let me tell you something. He was faithful to him when they said, oh yeah, you're one of his disciples. We're going to crucify you. What did y'all say his name was? And this is what he said. I'm not worthy to be crucified. So that means you can't crucify me. That ain't what he said. He said, I'm not worthy to be crucified like my master. Listen to this, guys. I know we've talked about it and we said, but listen to this. He said, you crucify me upside down. You talking about a faithful person? You talking about a true disciple? You talking about a real man of God? Well, if you're going to crucify me and I can't get out of it, crucify me upside down, because I'm not worthy to be crucified as my master. Where are those men at, guys? Where are they at? But it's just so tough. I don't know what I'm going to do. That guy looked at me when I went around him in my car. He turned and looked at me like that. I don't know what I'm going to do. Come on. They endured. They suffered hardship. They didn't complain about it. They considered it an honor. And guess what else they did? Sandy, guess what else they did? She was in my home group years ago. And if she knows anything, her and Lenny, they know one thing. You endure. They heard that till they endured it. I said, I'm going to make sure that you're doing what I'm telling you, because you're going to have to endure me talking about this again, Sandy.
We even had a truck named Endurance.
That's true. They had a truck named Endurance. I'm a prophet, Dick. Here's the word. So, you may call Richard. I'll call Richard for you. So, not only did they suffer hardship, not only did they complain about it, not only did they consider it an honor, they endured it. They endured it. Well, we're going to burn you with oil, in oil. Okay? That was KFC long before Colonel Sanders got around. Here's number 2. These are 4 characteristics of faithful men. I know one had like 5 in it. Sorry. I kind of lied to you, make you not think I'm doing this so much. Number 2, faithful men and woe men. Y'all are included in this. Y'all want equal rights? You're going to get them. You got to do the same stuff. Not distracted or gets off course by worldliness or our desires of the flesh. That is a characteristic of a faithful man. I'm not going to allow that to distract me. I'm not going to allow that to get me off course. And one of the ways of doing that is by we renew our mind. So all this goes together. And we're not talking about the Antichrist is coming and the tribulation and the rapture and all that stuff that ain't even true. You know what I'm talking about? So, 2 Timothy 2:3, if you'll go there for me. Is Rodriguez up there? I got to put him to work a little bit. This is about hardness. Thou therefore, what? Endure what? Hardness. As a good soldier of Yeshua Christ. I'm going to endure it. Because it's going to build character in me. The next one says we can't get distracted. And what will happen, we will get distracted of enduring the hardness and it building character in us. And we won't endure it, so we'll never get the character in us because we're not enduring it. Get distracted. I'm not distracted to get off course by worldliness or desires of the flesh. 2 Timothy 2:4, if you'll go there. No man that warreth does what? Entangleth himself. How many of you ever ran into a real big, thick spider web? I mean the one that's got super glue, Gorilla Glue on it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I was doing something. I lived up on the Mount Zion up there at the mountain up there at the railroad tracks on 36 and Baseline. 326 and 36th Avenue. That trailer up there used to be the Kingdom when I lived there. But something happened. I don't know if it started raining and I had to get something and put it in our little shed, and I went around the corner. It like Spider-Man wish he had this. It stuck to me. Barbara knows, you live right behind me. It took me like 4 days to get out of it. This stuff was stuck to me. And it wasn't just like you just pulled off. It had glue on it. It was like my arm. And I said, I don't want to see the spider that spun this thing. That thing stuck to me. Let me tell you something. No man that warreth entangleth himself. Because let me tell you something. I couldn't just get out of that spider web. I couldn't just say, as Gail used to say years ago, poof, be gone. It didn't just like go to dust and disappear. I was pulling stuff. That's when I had big afro around hair. I was pulling stuff off of me. And I'd be going on the rest of the day and Chris said, what's on your back? And it'd be part of the spider web stuck to my shirt. telling you, it wasn't easy to get untangled. That's why we cannot entangle ourselves with the affairs of life. Yes, we got to survive. Yes, we got to eat. Yes, we got bills to pay. I understand that. But we cannot allow those things to distract us from being faithful to what God says we're to be. And I'm giving you 4 characteristics of a faithful man. This is what a faithful man does. This is what a faithful man doesn't do. Okay? We're distinguishing that because a lot of time it gets mixed a little bit. There's no pure seed there. That seed gets mixed. And my gosh, look at what's going on. With affairs of life, that he may what? Him who what? Who had chosen him to be a soldier. Now look, this isn't just something that I volunteered to do. I was chosen by God. You were chosen by God. He believed in you enough to say, will you allow me to do a work in your life by my spirit, by my word, by the ecclesia, and you become more of the character of me? I'm talking about me, I'm talking about Yahweh. More of the character of me. Will you allow that? I choose you to be on my team. You know, you ever had to choose, pick, all that? And come on in, Bethany. Hey, so I didn't choose what team I was going to be on. He chose me. Don't that give you a good feeling? When you're like, see, my first pick is Bulldog. Yeah, Bulldog. But Bulldog comes up here, he just, oh yeah. So that should give us a little bit that we want to do the last part of this thing here, that he may please him. He may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier. And that's why I can't help but harp on being in a house like this where you know the truth, you have the words of life here, understand what you've got, and the honor and the privilege. I was eating lunch today, and a waitress come over to me. She knows me pretty good. So does every waitress in town at a restaurant, right? And she says, we don't know how lucky we have it. And I said, well, we don't know how blessed we are. Because at the table across from me, they had 1, 2, 3, 5 people. There was one person that seemed almost normal, one that was a little less normal, and the other 3 with quadriplegics in a wheelchair like this, trying to eat a cheeseburger. And the lady tried to do that. Let me tell you something. We don't know how blessed we are to not be that way. And I just prayed for him. I said, I'd like for him to jump up and run around. But guess what? Don't we understand how we should love God so much? Because first of all, he loved us. He loved me. He loves you. What better reason do we have to be faithful to him? And the way that we're faithful to him is we do not entangle ourselves with the affairs of life. I'm not going to get distracted. I'm not going to spend all my money. I'm not going to spend all my time. I'm not going to spend all of this on the things of life and the things of this world and get entangled with it, because it ain't easy to get loose from it. Because I want to please him, who when I was, Bible says, dead in my sins, yet he loved us. He chose me to give me the opportunity to get an immortality. We say that so often in this house, but think about that. He chose us. He put us in the house. He's given us revelation of his true word. He chose us and say, I'm going to impart this to you. Will you have ears to hear what I'm telling you? If you do what I'll tell you, you'll be rewarded with an immortality. I'm thankful for that. That he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. Man, faithful. faithful, not distracted or get off course or drink my cold coffee. Thanks, sweet baby. Number 3 kind of goes with this. If you'll go to 2 Timothy 2:4. This is basically, is that the same one? No wonder it's exactly the same. Okay, it goes along with it. Number 3 is a heart to please the one who chose him. I kind of got ahead of myself there. Number 4, go to the next verse from that one. That would be number 5. Rodriguez. And if a man also strive for masteries, he not crowned except he strive lawfully. This is what I put here. He does everything according to the rules and the laws and by the word. We've got to do it lawfully. That's what a faithful person does. Especially the laws and the commandments of Yahweh. God says, don't commit adultery. Don't commit adultery. Because a faithful man and a faithful woman does not commit adultery. That's literally, that's 101. Don't rob from your brother. Don't rob from God. A faithful man does not do that. Not only does a faithful man or woman not do that, but what a faithful man or woman does, they give to God. They give to one another. They give to the ecclesia, not rob from them, lawfully. That's why if you're lawfully, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Now, don't show a raise of hands because everybody be in here. Good and well, you're going down the road and you're just doing whatever, jamming or Gil's listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire or something like that. And we just, whatever we're doing, we're texting, listening to, oh yeah, that song, and all of a sudden we see that cop pull behind us. Somebody tell me how to hook this thing in here. We never even done it. Isn't it amazing that we panic? Especially if he slows down next to us and looks over at us. We just hold it like this. And when he pulls off and turns, you know that's the truth. You know that is the truth. My mother used to get her, because her car would go, ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. How do you make this stupid thing quit doing this? So what she would do, she would take it, just put it behind her, just click it, just leave it that way. So she was sitting on the seatbelt. I may have to follow her lead on that. Hey, but if we're striving, we're doing things lawfully, guess what? We don't have to worry about stuff now. Is that a cop behind you? How fast are you going? 56. Well, Crystal, the speed limit's 30. Oh my gosh. I said, look, when you slow down and they're that way and they see you, when they see your friend in your car do this, they know you are speeding. If you see them, boop, that radar done picked you up coming over that little hill. If you saw it, the radar sees you when you don't see it. So, but if we're doing it lawfully, I ain't got to worry about it. I'm doing the speed limit. I'm doing it the way that I was supposed to be doing it. Either in the natural or in our walk with God. I'm doing it the way that I was told to do and commanded to do. And I know that if I continue that and not worry about the result, but worry about my obeying, I will then, because I'm faithful in it, and because I was faithful in those small things, he's going to make me a ruler of big things, and I will get a well done from that. I don't have to worry about it. Now, what would happen if Yeshua came back and you were speeding in your car with no seatbelt on? Would you get a well done? Y'all like, When I lived in Columbus, Georgia, I was trying to trust God and believe God and search God. And so I finally came down here and helped my little brother start a little church and with Dick and Wawa. But I heard a guy on the radio he said this. He said, if you have any type of sin in your life, I'll say Yeshua, because that's the correct way. When Yeshua comes back, you will be in the middle of that sin. Danny, I said, what the? What? This is what he said. And guess what? I couldn't rewind it like I do now. I think I can rewind anything now. I'm watching TV or something or listening to the radio, and I said, what did that guy say? I'm trying to rewind it. It's crazy. But if you've got sin in your life when Yeshua comes back, you're going to be in the middle of that sin. Could it be that you're speeding and don't have your seatbelt on? Selah on that one. And if you don't get in your car when you leave here and put your seatbelt on, you don't have ears to hear. I'm trying to be easy on you tonight. You're welcome. All right, that's 4 of them. Now here we go. Now we got 7 characteristics of God's servant. Because if you're God's servant, what are you also? Faithful. Good. Faithful. This is chosen by God. We went over that verse a while ago, but Isaiah 42:1, the first part says, behold my servant who I uphold. That word uphold means to sustain. Let me tell you, you can make it because God said if you're a servant, He will sustain you. If you're weary, He'll be your strength. The Bible says, in my weakness, He is made strong. So either we're strong or He's strong. So there's no excuse for us not be able to endure things other than we're distracted by the things of our life and entangled with things. Behold my servant whom I uphold, I sustain, I keep fast, I help. Listen to this. I follow close. Man, I don't feel God. Well, you ain't got to feel God. You got to do according to His word. He says He'll follow you close. The Bible says He watches over His word to perform it. He's faithful to perform His word. Because God is faithful. He'll take, He'll uphold, He'll maintain, and He will retain. He'll maintain us. He'll maintain us if we're His servant. Then He put mine elect. Is that up there? Okay, good. Behold my servant whom I uphold. Those are all the things that mean uphold I just read. Then mine elect, my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. That's talking about Yeshua. But it's no different than us. Our lifestyle, because we're His servant, He said He'll do these things with us. And we should bring judgment to the Gentiles. We should bring judgment when we walk into the room. Not that we're, big and tough, but we're faithful. And it should bring judgment to those that are unfaithful. When we live a life holy before the Lord, it will bring judgment to those that are in the middle of sin. And guess what? You don't even have to do anything. They'll know it. And like I've always said, when the rubber hits the road, you're the first one they call. That they talk bad about, you'll be the first one they call. Here's number 2. We're chosen by God. Number 2 is we are anointed by God. That's the second part of that we read. Put His Spirit upon them. Number 3, humility, no exalting of self, not about the servant. It's not about the servant. I preached it a few times, but years ago I preached a message that says, he who carries the king. You know who carried the king in? A donkey. A donkey. Or also known as hee-haw. Y'all remember hee-haw? Y'all just want that I got the freedom to just cuss. For some of us, that's doing pretty good if that's our bad word, right? So, in this message, I basically just said this. The donkey brought the king in. The emphasis was the king. Trust me, when the king was brought into the town, everyone wasn't saying, would you look at that donkey? Do you see that? What is? I wish my sister was here. I'm getting her. She's got lights now. If you're watching, you got lights now. Wait here. Yeah, her car. What is it when, not a stride, gate. Oh, they know all that. Oh, look at the gate on that. I'm like, I don't even see a hinge. What are you talking about, a gate? But somehow how they walk or trot, or you probably know, Kim, from German Shepherds, they got a gait how they walk or something. I don't know. Some kind of AKC dog thing. I don't know. They're like, did you see? Oh, look at the ears on that donkey. I said, you mean the one that Festus is riding? You know who Festus is? How about Chester?
Chester. That's going back, yeah.
Mr. Dillon. Let me tell you, the emphasis was not on the donkey. I was the donkey. Well, praise the Lord. We're doing a Christmas play. And there's Yeshua and all this stuff. And the guy's so happy because he took the donkey head off. And he wanted the standing ovation because he was the donkey. The emphasis is not the donkey. The emphasis is on the king. The emphasis is not about us, guys. We're the servant. It's about him. That's why we've got to do what he tells us to do and have the characteristics as God's servant. Not just the characteristics of faithfulness, but now the characteristics of God's servant. Humility, no exalting of self, not about the servant. Let's go to Isaiah 42:3. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. Number 4 is this: to have compassion for the brokenhearted. And what we've got to realize is we've got to have the Spirit of God to distinguish the brokenhearted and those that are not the brokenhearted. Let me tell you something. When Yeshua did miracles, you know what the Bible says? That he had compassion on them. He says he had compassion on them and he healed them all. Think of that. Compassion for the brokenhearted. Listen to this. Tenderness and mercy. That's what we've been called to have. Tenderness and mercy. Think of that. He don't deserve it. Well, guess what? Neither did we. And I'm not saying that we are okay with people's sin. Never. Never. But there's an old saying, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about someone who's just flat out not interested and they're nothing but takers. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about someone who struggles, who has a good heart and is reaching out, and they're brokenhearted. We've got to have a heart toward them. Number 5 is faithfully bring forth justice and no respecter of persons, which is that verse also. Goes right along with it. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. Truth. That's what justice is. Justice isn't that you're going to find somebody guilty. Justice is we're just going to find out what the truth is. And that's the only way we can have true liberty, is that we know truth. For you shall know the truth, and the truth will do what? Set you free. A lie will not set you free. It won't set you free. We can lie to someone and tell them how beautiful they are. And guess what? They'll think that they're beautiful because you said they were. Now, how many of you are going to go home and tell somebody you're ugly? It's kind of like this. When they had that baby, that newborn baby. Oh, isn't she beautiful? Is that the baby? It's funny. He won't get mad at me because he's humble. But when my brother and Bevy had Jonathan, the doctor gave birth to Jonathan and said, oh, it's a boy. Oh, great. And Johnny sent pictures to everybody. And we were still in Columbus, sent pictures. And then the doctor said, oh, there's a twin. And this one looks just like his daddy. I ain't going to tell you what that was. But sometimes those babies were like, oh, isn't it beautiful? What do you say? I'm going to tell you the truth, brother. It's ugly. No, we don't have to do that because they will be brokenhearted and we got to have compassion on them. And you can say something like, man, look how big their hands are. Y'all know how to do it. Y'all know how to do it. Hey, speak the truth to them. I'm not talking about making them feel stupid, but love them. Have compassion on them. But those that need the truth spoken to them, speak to them. Guess what? And guess who those are? All of us. The Bible says, let the righteous smite me. Smite me. Slap me. Wake me up. Somebody tell me the truth. Somebody tell me what true salvation by no other name is. Tell me the real name that I can only be saved by that name. Someone tell me the real name. I don't want to offend you. And guess what? If they ain't got ears to hear, you're going to offend them no matter what. You're going to offend them. It's funny. I keep having to go back to it, but it's just so unbelievable. The Asian guy who was Robert Lee, ESPN said, well, if we left him there, everybody would be saying, oh yeah, Virginia, Robert Lee. And then if they let him go, which they did, they was like, how could you let him go? He's Asian because he's Robert Lee. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but just walk in truth about the thing. Walk in truth about it. In areas of our lives, walk in truth about it. Don't lie to ourselves and think that, well, God understands my sin here and he thinks he's okay with it. He's not. And you got people in this house that loves you enough and says, don't do that. Stop it. We're not going to kill you over it, but stop it. Because we love you. We care about you. Let the righteous smite me. Go to verse 4 if you would. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. We can't faint. We talked about that. We can't quit. We can't abandon his purpose and his word and his will in our life. We can't abandon it. We can't leave it. We can't quit. I'm done. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I'm done. And what's crazy is, we've talked about this recently, what's crazy is there are some people that get that way and they believe that it's God that God's telling them to go somewhere else or go do something else so they can blame God. But in reality, it really is God telling you, you got to leave. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm back. I think I told you about the song, the Matt down there. He went back to Heartbreak Hotel and he looked down and the welcome mat said, I knew you'd be back. Yep. 42:4. All right. And here's the other part. Number 7, is he is a man with purpose. We've got to be faithful and have the characteristics of God's servant with his purpose. We cannot substitute our purpose for his purpose. I'd rather be something little, if there's such a thing that we automatically assume. But let's say this, something little in the kingdom of God and the obedience of him and in his purpose than the greatest thing in the world that's in the flesh and by my own doings. You know why? This one brings forth life. This one brings forth death. It's not going to last. So whatever our portion is, that's a great word about portion. Because God's given everyone, He's given us portions. This is our portion. Ocala, here we are, this is our portion. God may extend our tent stakes and extend our portion, but this is our portion. And what we've got to do, we've got to be faithful and committed to where God has set us and what God's called us to do, no matter how great we think it is or how small we think it is. If we're in the will of God and we're walking according to His will and His word in our life, there's nothing greater. And no one can take you from that place, but you can quit. What horrible. What horrible. It's like we've fought and we've endured all these years. And we're like, this ain't working. I don't see it. Yeshua ain't come back yet. They've been saying he's going to come back. He ain't coming back. He probably ain't going to come back anyway. There probably ain't no such thing as Yeshua. And what do? We up and leave and say, the heck with it. Boom, Yeshua comes back. Wouldn't that be pathetic? So guess what? If I've endured this long, you think I'm going to stop and quit and get distracted by the things of our life to distract me from going on and getting tangled with those things after all the work and the trying to be faithful and trying to obey God and fighting the fight of faith and being obedient all this time? I'm going to just throw it all away because I don't feel good, or I'm just like, I'm done with it, because we've entangled ourselves with life. We've been distracted. Faithful and characteristics of a faithful person is we don't allow ourselves to get distracted. Nope. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. I did a message several years ago. It's called True North. We can get distracted just a little bit. Well, I'm north. Well, you're in northwest of Washington State, and we're supposed to be in New York. Well, I'm north. No. We need to be on God's timing, on God's purpose, where He's called us to be, and be faithful to it. I've got 13 areas of faithfulness. Boy, I won't kill you. I'll continue it later. I'll stop there. But I wanted to give us some things that we could tangible, that we could know and say, this is how I'm faithful. Well, we've got to be faithful. Yeah, we got to be faithful. Well, someone at least tell me how I'm supposed to be faithful. Because we need to know that. We need to hear that. And also, if we follow the Ruach of God, He'll lead us in that way. So I wanted to encourage you tonight of what a true faithful believer is, what he does, and what he doesn't do. Okay? Faithfulness, trustworthy, believer, sure, true, agree, assure, have confidence, make friend, obey, persuade, trust, yield, constant in performing duties and services. I'm constant. I'm being busy in the things of God. Yeah, I know you got to work. I know you got things to do. I know you got a home. I know you got a business. I know all that. But the bottom line is that has to take second place. Because if not, we will get entangled with the things of life. And remember my illustration. I may still have some on me. It's sticky, and you can't just pull it right off. It's not worth it. So let's be faithful. I hope you understood some things that God expects, things that we do, and things that we don't do. All right? We do the things of God, that's his good side. We don't do the things of God, that's not his good side. And he will be faithful to each end. Y'all understand what I'm saying that? He's faithful to each end. So sometimes we ask God, if we're on this end, God, don't be faithful. Oh, he's going to be faithful. Apple seed, apple tree. All righty? I love you. Thanks for being here. Let's come prepared Sunday. See, is that the last Sunday? I think it's the last Sunday, isn't it? Fourth Sunday? Is this Sunday? Don't forget about our missions with that. And let's be doers. Let's be lovers of truth. And let's walk this thing out. Let's get a well done together. Righty? Right, Veronica, Truck Grove?